All right, everyone. MediaMatters has run an article as of last night that attacks 4chan and Drudge and talks about a poll that they did after the debate. See, Drudge does this after every major debate, whether it's in the general or in a primary. They did this with the Republicans, too. And they frequently get targeted by people across the internet who organize off-site in order to load the polls in one direction or the other. This happens on Reddit, it happens on 4chan, it happens fucking everywhere. But they've got to stick up their ass about 4chan particularly because they think it's like internet hate machine. It's not far left anymore like Bill O'Reilly thought 10 years ago. Now it's far right. And it's very interesting how that supposedly happened. Really, it's just shit posters and stuff like that. But they don't understand. They're missing the point. And what they said was that, whoa, 4chan poured on to rig the poll for Marianne Williamson, which is like, after one fashion, insofar as Marianne Williamson is hippie mom, is love bead and meditation chemtrail warrior, and orgone and weird shit like that. The fact that she looked like one of the more sane people on the debate stage the other night is a win. You need to understand that Marianne Williamson in a normal election would be laughed at. She'd be a token candidate. She's the weirdo up on stage who's self-funded or you know, borrowed against their own family business in order to just make a run for publicity purposes, and it'd be laughed at. However, she's not. I think she said something the other night about violent video games causing us to be like disliked around the world or some weird shit, and it may have been a tongue-in-cheek joke about censorship, and we're not sure. But MediaMatters is misunderstanding this on several levels. The first part is that just because a bunch of people organize to go after a poll doesn't mean it's being rigged. They're still independent individuals voting. They're voting based on what they perceive. They probably did watch the debate. Largely, they do like Williamson, or they wouldn't be pressing the button for her. So it's not really a form of rigging. It's a form of out-organizing other people who are also organizing in order to participate in a poll. I guarantee there were 100 mentions of it on Reddit during the same period, people organizing for one candidate or the other. Oh, say Bernie won. Oh, say Warren won. Oh, you know, Yang out of nowhere. Well, Yang was in this debate, but you get the idea. There were other threads on 4chan. I'm sure there were people rigging in other directions, so-called. People on YouTube, people on Twitter, certainly, places like Gab. And this happens, the other misunderstanding is the idea, and they've peddled this for multiple elections, not MediaMatters, but the legacy media in general. They keep peddling the idea that this sort of behavior is new. I can remember participating in such things during the Ron Paul era, fucking 2012 election. We're talking almost a decade ago now, and I was actively participating and even helping to create threads in regards to pushing Ron Paul up, especially on Fox News polls, which used to be much more simple to rig. And I can remember because they would always, when that would happen, they would always come out, and what they would do is they would report on it before Ron Paul hit #1. Like usually Romney was ahead, and then Ron Paul would start to close the gap. Because, of course, there's a delay between when they unleash the poll, when you can start organizing. Most Republicans were backing Mitt Romney. We were trying to push back against that, and at least in the online sense, have a few jollies at the neocons' expense. And so we would push Ron Paul to the top. And it was fun. I mean, it wasn't really, whoa, we're going to change the world by convincing people Ron Paul is capable of winning. It wasn't really like that. It's just amusing. This was done during the Trayvon Martin trial. I remember there was a clip, and I participated in the very thread that caused this. Remember when they asked, what the fuck was it? That network with the insufferable woman who simultaneously says weed doesn't cause crime and yet weed causes crime. I can't remember her name. Judge something or other, or some weirdo with weird hair. Anyway, they had a poll saying, oh, was George Zimmerman justified? And their reaction was awestruck, essentially. 4chan very quickly organized. I was there. I think I created one of the threads that was responsible for this, actually, to try to get it labeled a justified shooting, which it is. I mean, that's not my being dishonest. That's my honest opinion. He was attacked. He acted in self-defense. It's fucking clear as day to me. And I think it was like 80-20 or something in the final result. And they're like, wow, you know, they couldn't believe it. And it was funny because for a small moment, the legacy lying asshole media was gamed by a bunch of trolls on 4chan. And it was fucking funny. And this has happened a million times. It's like with Doritos flavors The weird names for them for what was it, Mountain Dew. They had a local flavor contest, and they had like Gushin' Granny and Crapple and weird shit like that. It's fun. It's fun to do this. The idea that this is not at least partially tongue-in-cheek trolling, Media Matters is humorless. The far left of today is acting like the Bill O'Reillys did towards 4chan 10 years ago. Oh my God, it's filled with hate and despicable, and we need to censor this. We need to do something about that. And they fell flat. Because they're a bunch of fucking morons that didn't understand online culture, especially not that side of online culture. Now the left is doing the same thing. Oh my God, it's a bunch of Nazis. Every single one of them wants to kill 6 million people. They're horrible, horrible people. And they rig polls. They're working for the Russians. It's propaganda. No, it's not. It's people having fun. Some of it, I'm sure, is politically active people, sort of trying to get something started. The idea, though, that anyone seriously believes. I mean, again, outside of a humorous tongue-in-cheek reference, the idea that Media Matters is peddling that people actually believe Marianne Williamson is going to win the election because of a rigged Drudge poll. Now, who do you think fucking reads Drudge? It's like 90% Republican partisans. And usually, in many cases, the younger, more tech-literate, more libertarian-ish or new right side is more likely to pay attention to Drudge. Older Republicans, the partisans, the boomer Republicans, they're more likely to watch Fox, in all honesty. So really, unless you're rigging a Fox News poll, which you can't even do online anymore because they don't do anything online. I don't even think they have comments open on their fucking website anymore. Unless you're doing that, the boomer Republicans probably don't know that it's happening. So it's not quite as fun anymore, but it's still worth 10 minutes of enjoyment. It's really fun, though, to see the flexing of muscle on a website where 10, 20,000 people can be organized over the course of, not even an hour. It's quite something. It really is an excellent mechanism to defeat tyranny. I think it's generally a good thing. Even where it's like shitposting raids and flame wars and stuff like that, by and large, it's a positive thing in the world. It's exciting. It's fun. And people that are the butt of the joke, they never find it funny, and they always push for censorship. But who's the butt of the joke? Shitty legacy media, they're clueless. Lamestream establishment politicians, they're fucking clueless and corrupt. Big corporations, big bankers, billionaire multinationalists, who fucking cares about them being the butt of the joke? I think they need to be joked about even more. Marianne Williamson's funny. It's just like I'm sure that there will be things over the next day, and I'm sure they've already happened, but I'm in a different time zone from the East Coast of the U.S., like I'm usually part of. Things for Tulsi Gabbard. Even CNN, though, here's the deniability there. Even CNN saying that she was a winner in the second Democratic debate. So it's going to be kind of hard to say, well, evil 4chan rigged the polls. And they keep referring to her as mommy for some reason. It was funny. People were thread on there just this morning. Again, this morning, Netherlands time. It was like, oh, mommy, make the bad woman go away. Like talking about Tulsi Gabbard attacking Kamala Harris. And it's like the funniest shit I've ever seen. I'm like, they should have said make the bad man go away too with Joe Biden. Post one of the incredible number of pictures of him doing things to people's shoulders. That would be effective memetics right there. I love this side of politics. I think it's the sort of grassroots tech activism that we see. Very inventive, in some cases very spontaneous, is much more interesting than old-style activism. It's much more interesting than the dry side of politics. Like a bunch of people in suits, fucking talking heads, sitting there endlessly rambling and analyzing. They don't even say fart. Like they're very dry. Like, oh, yes, I think the liberals have really kicked the can down the road. They say like boring shit. Even the way they talk is boring. It's not like a bunch of YouTubers sitting around at a round table discussion, calling each other names. It's fun. It's entertaining. It also might actually change things because the format has changed fundamentally from the old style of stuff, like, the old televised debate structure of the 80s or 90s. It's totally different now. I think by and large that's a good thing. I think that the moral panic that we're in is spawning all sorts of inventive ways for people to avoid it anyway, but the idea that a 4chan thread rigs a poll on a site that is overwhelmingly right-wing such that Media Matters has to get involved. My goodness. What's next? Are they going to declare that 4chan's run by the Kremlin? They'll probably try it at some point. Some people will be dumb enough to actually take it seriously, so I thought it was funny. And Marianne Williamson, again, it was the sane person on the stage. The person who thinks that chemicals in your food are going to make you grow tentacles and says weird hippie trippy bullshit about if we just love people more, crime will go away, she's the one that's sane within the Democratic Party. She and Tulsi Gabbard, who's so prohibitively young she never would have been taken seriously. Those are the sane people in the Democratic Party. And then Joe Biden. You know, a perverted dude in his mid-70s who he can't keep his hands to himself and he's arguably got some dementia. He's sane too. By contrasting him with some of these others, self-proclaimed socialist Bernie and crazy sellout Elizabeth Warren and liar Kamala Harris and some of these other morons. Or Buttigieg, again, you know, he's not even 40 years old. He's a little bit unique. That's about all. Peace out.